A season of preparation is one of the most important and transformative times in our lives. It is during this period that God begins to work deeply within us, shaping and refining us to become the person we need to be to fulfill His purpose. Preparation is never just about what we want, but about aligning ourselves with God's will. Many times we think that we are simply waiting for something to happen, or we are focused on what's coming next, whether that's a relationship, a career change, or a new opportunity. But in reality, the season of preparation is the very foundation upon which everything else will be built. God understands that before He can bring someone or something into our lives, we must first be ready. Too often we look for fulfillment and purpose in external circumstances, thinking that the right person, job, or situation will complete us. However, God knows that true fulfillment comes from within. This is why the season of preparation is essential. It's during this time that God works on our character, our mindset, and our emotional health. He shows us areas of our lives where we need to grow, change, and mature. This process can be uncomfortable, sometimes even painful, but it is always necessary. In the process of preparation, God begins to teach us patience, discipline, and trust. He will often place us in situations where we have no choice but to rely on Him. This could be a time of waiting, a time of stepping out in faith, or a time of solitude. These moments are not meant to make us feel abandoned or forgotten. Rather, they are opportunities for God to strengthen our reliance on Him alone. It's in these quiet, sometimes challenging seasons that we learn to hear His voice more clearly, to understand His heart more fully, and to recognize His hand at work in our lives. Preparation also involves the owning of our skills and talents. Many times we underestimate the importance of developing our gifts and abilities. God knows that when He brings the right person, opportunity, or mission into our lives, we must be equipped to handle it. This is why He spends time equipping us, not only with the wisdom to make good decisions, but with the capabilities to succeed. We might not see it at the time, but the skills we develop during our season of preparation will be the very tools we need to navigate the future God has for us. During this time, God may also reveal things about ourselves that we've ignored or suppressed. He might bring us face to face with our fears, insecurities, and weaknesses. But rather than allowing these revelations to discourage us, God uses them to build us up. By confronting these areas in our lives, we can begin to heal, grow stronger, and develop the resilience needed to step into the next phase of our journey. The season of preparation is a refining fire, burning away impurities and leaving behind the person God created us to be. God's preparation for our future is never hasty or rushed. He takes His time, ensuring that we are fully ready for the purpose He has in mind for us. Sometimes we might feel like we're not moving forward or that we're stuck. But it's important to understand that there is purpose in this waiting. God is working in the background even when we can't see the results immediately. This waiting time is part of the process. And it's during this season that God molds us into the best version of ourselves. As we grow through this season of preparation, we also begin to learn the value of self-worth. Many times we are so focused on seeking validation from others, but God's preparation helps us understand that we are already complete in Him. We begin to recognize that we don't need another person to validate our existence or to give us a sense of identity. We are enough as we are. And when we embrace this truth, we are ready to enter into a relationship not out of need, but out of a place of strength, wholeness, and mutual purpose. A season of preparation is not a punishment, nor is it a waste of time. It is the necessary process that sets us up for success, both in our personal lives and in fulfilling the destiny God has for us. It's where God refines our character, aligns our hearts with His, and equips us for the future. This season can feel like a slow, drawn-out process, but it's in this time that we are transformed into the people we need to be for the next phase of our lives. So rather than resisting the preparation, let us embrace it, knowing that God is doing something incredible within us. And in His perfect timing, He will bring everything together for our good and for His glory. The revealing of your true self is one of the most profound and sometimes unsettling experiences on the journey toward fulfilling God's purpose for your life. It's a process that goes beyond surface level appearances, beyond what others may think or expect of you, and deep into the core of who you really are. This process of revelation is essential because before God can bring someone into your life, He first wants you to understand who you truly are, not based on the labels others have placed on you, but based on who He has created you to be. This is where real transformation begins. At first, many of us walk through life carrying masks, presenting an image of ourselves that we think is acceptable or even desirable. We try to fit into boxes that society or our past has created for us, hiding our weaknesses, our fears, and sometimes even our true desires. We wear these masks to protect ourselves, to avoid judgment, or simply because we believe it is safer to hide the parts of ourselves that we think are unworthy or unlovable. But when God is preparing us for something greater, He will not allow us to remain in this place of concealment. He wants to peel back the layers and show us the real version of ourselves, the version that has always been there, waiting to be fully embraced and expressed. This revealing process can be uncomfortable. It often involves confronting things about ourselves that we may have avoided for years, insecurities, brokenness, emotional wounds, and even toxic patterns of thinking or behaving that have been ingrained in us over time. It's a journey of self-discovery, but it's also a journey of healing. The more we see the truth about who we are, the more we can begin to address those areas that need restoration. God isn't revealing our true selves to condemn us or make us feel inadequate. Instead, He is showing us our real selves because He wants to heal us, equip us, and empower us to step into the future He has designed for us. In this process, God will help us acknowledge both our strengths and our weaknesses. He will help us understand the gifts and talents He has placed within us, and He will reveal the areas where we need growth or transformation. Sometimes we only focus on what we think is wrong with us, but God sees the bigger picture. He sees not only our flaws, but also our potential. He sees who we are becoming, and He is more interested in that future version of us than in the mistakes or failures of our past. This is why the revealing of our true self is not about self-condemnation, but about self-awareness and acceptance. It's about acknowledging that we are a work in progress, and with God's guidance, we can become the person He has destined us to be. Part of this journey is learning to love ourselves, not from a place of arrogance or self-centeredness, but from a place of acceptance and grace. God wants us to love the person we are in His eyes, flaws and all. It's in this space of self-love that we are truly free to love others. We can only give what we have, and if we do not understand our own worth, how can we recognize the worth of someone else? It is this deep understanding of our value that opens our hearts to truly connect with others, especially when God brings the right person into our lives. The revealing of your true self is also about breaking free from the expectations of others. So often we live our lives trying to meet the expectations of our families, our communities, our society. We seek approval, validation, and acceptance, sometimes at the cost of losing our authenticity. But when God is revealing who we really are, He frees us from the need to please everyone. He shows us that our value is not defined by the opinions of others, but by the truth of who we are in Him. This revelation empowers us to live authentically, to step into relationships and situations with confidence, knowing that we are not pretending to be someone we are not. In this season of revealing, God will also highlight the areas in our hearts that are still in need of healing. Sometimes we can't see the full picture of who we are because we are still carrying emotional baggage from our past. This could be unhealed wounds from childhood, failed relationships, or hurtful experiences that have shaped the way we view ourselves. God will gently bring these things to the surface, not to shame us, but to set us free. He wants to heal the broken places in our hearts so that we can live whole, without the scars of the past holding us back. Only when we are healed and whole can we truly embrace our true identity and step into the future that God has prepared for us. This revealing is not a one-time event, but an ongoing process. As we grow in our relationship with God, He continues to reveal more of who we are, helping us see ourselves from His perspective. Every step of the journey allows us to shed more of the false identities and masks we've worn for so long and embrace the authentic, powerful person He created us to be. It is only when we fully embrace who we are that we can step into the purpose He has set for our lives. The revealing of your true self is about discovering your divine identity. It's about knowing that you are deeply loved, chosen, and capable of fulfilling the great calling God has placed on your life. It's about understanding that you are not defined by your past mistakes, by the opinions of others, or by the struggles you faced. You are defined by God's love for you. And His plan for your life is bigger and better than anything you could imagine. When you see yourself through His eyes, you are able to walk with confidence, knowing that the person you are is exactly who you were meant to be. The disruption of your comfort zone is one of the most powerful and transformative experiences you will go through in your life. It is the moment when everything you thought you knew, everything that felt familiar and safe, is shaken. While it's easy to resist and even fear change, the truth is, growth never happens in the comfort of the familiar. It is in the disruption of our routines, our safe spaces, and our predictable lives that God begins to prepare us for something greater. He knows that to step into the new and the better, we must first be willing to let go of what no longer serves us. Comfort zones are built over time. They are created by the habits, environments, and relationships that make us feel secure. They are the places where we feel in control, where we know what to expect, and where we find comfort in the routines we have established. But these comfort zones, while they may feel safe, also keep us from reaching our full potential. They become barriers that limit our ability to experience the fullness of God's purpose for our lives. If we're always comfortable, we never stretch, we never grow. And we never take the risks that are often required to move into the next phase of God's plan for us. When God is preparing us for something greater, He will often allow or even cause a disruption in our lives. It could be a sudden change in our career, a shift in our relationships, or a shift in our... It could be a loss or a challenge that forces us to rethink our priorities, our identity, and our future. This disruption isn't a punishment or a random event. It's God's way of getting our attention and helping us see that we are capable of more than we ever imagined. He is not punishing us, He is positioning us for something better. This disruption can feel unsettling, even painful. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that something is wrong when everything you've known starts to fall apart or change. But God's ways are not our ways, and His thoughts are not our thoughts. Sometimes what feels like chaos is actually God's order being established. The disruption of your comfort zone is a divine invitation to step into a new dimension of your life, one that requires you to trust Him more fully, to rely on His guidance, and to let go of the familiar in order to embrace the unknown. When your comfort zone is disrupted, you are forced to confront the things you may have been avoiding, your fears, your insecurities, your doubts, and your limitations. It's in these moments of discomfort that you begin to see areas of your life where you've been stagnant or resistant to change. These moments highlight where you need to grow, what you need to let go of, and where you need to trust God more deeply. It's easy to stay where things are familiar, but God knows that to take you to the next level, He needs to stretch you. Stretching requires discomfort. It requires breaking free from the limits you've placed on yourself. The removal of toxic relationships also involves a shift in mindset. Often we stay in toxic relationships out of a sense of guilt or obligation, believing that we are responsible for others' happiness or that we must keep the peace. But when God is working on you, He helps you recognize that your first responsibility is to your own well-being. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot help others grow when you are constantly being drained and torn down by the people around you. By removing toxic relationships, you make space for the relationships that are truly life-giving, those that encourage you, sharpen you, and bring you closer to God's purpose for your life. As painful as it may be, removing toxic relationships is an act of self-care and self-love. It is about recognizing your worth and choosing to prioritize your own health, growth, and happiness. This process may not happen overnight, and it may take time to work through the emotions tied to letting go of people who once had a significant place in your life. But trust that God has a better plan for you. He will surround you with the right people, those who align with your values, your dreams, and your purpose. These people will walk with you, support you, and help you grow into the person God has called you to be. It's also important to remember that removing toxic relationships is not about revenge or bitterness. It's not about cutting someone out of your life because they have wronged you or hurt you. It's about making a decision to walk away from unhealthy dynamics for your own peace and well-being. You can remove someone from your life with grace and forgiveness, trusting that God will handle the situation. Forgiveness does not mean that you allow someone to continue hurting you. It simply means that you are releasing the burden of anger and resentment so that you can move forward freely. Ultimately, the removal of toxic relationships is an essential step in your journey toward healing and wholeness. It is part of God's divine plan to help you live a life of peace, joy, and purpose. As you release the people and situations that have been holding you back, you make space for the new and the better things that God has prepared for you. Trust that the relationships that are meant for you will align with your destiny, and as you move forward, you will be surrounded by the right people who will help you grow, encourage you, and walk alongside you in the purpose God has for your life. The birth of a new vision for your future is one of the most exciting and transformative experiences you will encounter. It is the moment when your perspective shifts, when you begin to see the world and your place in it with clarity and purpose. This new vision isn't something that just appears overnight. It often comes as the result of growth, self-discovery, and a deeper understanding of your calling. God, in His perfect timing, will plant a vision in your heart that is far bigger and more meaningful than anything you could have ever imagined on your own. It is a divine blueprint for your life, a calling that will guide you toward your purpose and destiny. This new vision doesn't come without challenges. It often arises after periods of difficulty, struggle, or even disappointment. In many cases, it is born out of the need for change. Sometimes we find ourselves stuck in familiar routines or patterns that no longer align with our deepest desires. The old ways may not fulfill us any longer, and we may begin to feel a stirring deep within us, signaling that it's time for something new. It's in this space of discomfort that God begins to plant seeds for a new vision. The vision may not always be fully formed at first, but it begins as a feeling, a nudge, or a thought that something greater is waiting for you. As this new vision begins to take shape, you may not have all the answers, and that's okay. The vision God gives you isn't always clear from the beginning. It requires faith, trust, and obedience. It's often in the walking out of the vision that the details begin to unfold. In the early stages, it can feel uncertain, even overwhelming, because the path forward may not be fully visible. But this is where God calls us to trust Him. He does not reveal the entire picture all at once because He wants us to rely on Him every step of the way. When we step out in faith, even when we can't see the full picture, we begin to experience the depth of God's provision, guidance, and timing. The birth of a new vision also requires us to shift our mindset. It calls us to think bigger and bolder than we ever have before. It challenges us to step outside the boundaries of what we thought was possible and to dream beyond our limitations. It's easy to get caught in the trap of thinking that our circumstances or past failures define our future. But God doesn't look at our present situation. He sees the potential that lies within us. When He gives us a new vision, He invites us to look beyond what we see and to trust that He has already equipped us for what He is calling us to. The vision may require us to let go of fear, insecurity, and self-doubt, and to embrace the belief that with God, all things are possible. As this vision grows, so does the excitement and anticipation of what's to come. A new vision for your future opens up possibilities that you may have never considered before. It brings fresh hope and a sense of purpose, igniting a passion to move forward and take action. It shifts the focus from what you lack to what you can achieve. Suddenly, the obstacles that once seemed insurmountable become stepping stones toward a greater purpose. You begin to realize that every experience, every challenge, and even every failure was a part of God's preparation for the new vision He has placed in your heart. It is also important to recognize that the birth of a new vision often comes with a need for change, and change can be uncomfortable. The vision God gives you will stretch you, challenge you, and sometimes push you out of your comfort zone. It may require you to develop new skills, adopt new habits, or change the way you think and behave. This process of transformation is necessary for growth. Without change, there is no progress. The birth of a new vision is God's way of ushering you into a new season of your life, one that is filled with opportunities for growth, purpose, and fulfillment. However, along with the excitement of a new vision, there may be moments of doubt and fear. As you begin to walk toward this vision, there will be challenges that test your faith and perseverance. It's important to remember that obstacles are not signs that the vision is not meant for you. Rather, they are part of the process, helping you build strength, resilience, and trust in God's ability to bring your vision to fruition. When challenges arise, don't lose heart. Instead, use them as opportunities to lean into God even more. Trust that He is guiding you and that the vision He has given you will come to pass in His perfect timing. A new vision for your future also requires you to be open to new opportunities and new relationships. As your vision begins to unfold, God will bring people into your life who will help you along the way. These individuals may have wisdom, experience, or resources that will support your journey. They may challenge you, encourage you, or hold you accountable, but they will all play a crucial role in helping you fulfill the vision God has given you. In addition, new opportunities will arise that align with your vision. These opportunities may come in unexpected ways, but when you remain open and receptive to them, you will find that God's provision is abundant. As the vision begins to take root in your heart, you will begin to see the potential for your life in a new light. You will realize that the struggles, setbacks, and challenges you have faced in the past were not wasted. They were part of the process, shaping you and preparing you for the moment when God would reveal His purpose for your life. The new vision will not only give you direction and purpose, but it will also give you the courage to step forward into the unknown, knowing that God is with you every step of the way. The birth of a new vision for your future is a moment of divine revelation. It is God revealing to you the bigger picture of His plan for your life. It is a call to step out of the ordinary and into the extraordinary, to trust in His guidance and to walk boldly into the future He has prepared for you. When you embrace this new vision, you embrace the destiny that God has in store for you, a destiny filled with purpose, impact, and fulfillment. This vision will not only transform your future, but will also transform the world around you. God's timing and choice are often the two most crucial elements in the journey of fulfilling your purpose and destiny. Understanding and accepting these two aspects of divine guidance can completely transform the way you view your life and your path. So often we find ourselves impatient, striving for things to happen on our own timetable, pushing to make things work in the way we think they should. We may try to manipulate circumstances, make things happen faster, or try to control outcomes because we want to see immediate results. But God's timing and His choice for our lives are far superior to our own. There is a divine order that is much larger and more intricate than we could ever comprehend. God's timing is perfect, and this can be one of the hardest truths to accept. It means that the events of your life unfold exactly when they are meant to. It's easy to get frustrated or discouraged when things don't happen according to our plans or expectations. We may ask ourselves, why hasn't it happened yet? Or why does it feel like I'm stuck while others seem to be moving ahead? These questions stem from our limited understanding of time. What we see as delay or lack of progress may simply be part of God's perfect timing. God is not bound by time as we are. He operates outside of time. And what seems like a delay to us is often a time of preparation, refinement, and growth. When you trust in God's timing, you recognize that He sees the entire picture. He knows exactly when to open doors, when to move you forward, and when to allow you to grow in patience and resilience. God's timing doesn't just apply to external events, it also shapes your internal development. Many times the waiting period isn't just about waiting for circumstances to align, it's about waiting for you to align with God's purpose and plan. It's during these times of waiting that God is refining your character, building your faith, and preparing you for the greater things ahead. He understands the specific lessons you need to learn, the experiences you need to go through, and the strength you need to develop before you can step into the next phase of your life. These periods of waiting, although difficult, are not wasted. They are part of the process that shapes you into the person who is ready to fulfill the vision and purpose He has for you. In addition to His perfect timing, God's choice for your life is an essential component of His plan. God, in His infinite wisdom, has a specific plan and purpose for each person, and this plan is uniquely tailored to you. His choice for your life is not random, nor is it based on anything you've done to earn it. It is a reflection of His love, grace, and the unique gifts He has placed within you. Sometimes we struggle with God's choice because it doesn't look like what we expected or imagined. It may not be what we thought we wanted or what we've seen others achieve. But God's choices are always aligned with his ultimate purpose, which is to bring us into the fullness of who we are meant to be. God's choice is not always easy, and it may not be popular. There are times when God will ask you to walk a path that seems difficult or even counterintuitive. You may be called to pursue a career that seems unconventional, enter into relationships that are challenging, or move to a place that doesn't make sense in the natural. But when God makes his choice for you, it is always for your highest good. It may not be the easy road, but it is the road that leads to true fulfillment, peace, and alignment with his divine will. Trusting God's choice means trusting that he knows what is best for you, even when it doesn't align with your own desires or plans. One of the most difficult aspects of God's timing and choice is the lack of immediate understanding. There may be moments in your life when you don't fully understand why things are happening the way they are. You may not understand why you are facing a particular challenge or why something you've worked so hard for hasn't come to fruition yet. But this is where trust comes in. Trusting God's timing and his choices means surrendering your need for immediate understanding. It's about choosing faith over fear, choosing trust over doubt, and choosing to believe that God is working everything together for your good, even when you can't see the outcome. It requires patience, perseverance, and the ability to rest in the knowledge that God is in control. In many cases, God's timing and choice are about divine preparation. You may not be ready yet to step into what God has for you, and so he waits until the perfect moment. Sometimes the delay isn't a sign of rejection or denial. It's simply God preparing you for the great things ahead. As he is orchestrating events in your life, he is also molding and shaping you, refining your skills, expanding your capacity, and teaching you lessons that will make you stronger and more equipped for what he is calling you to. God's choice for you is never random, and his timing is always intentional. There is no wasted time in his plan. Even when it feels like nothing is happening, trust that behind the scenes, God is preparing you for the next step.